All in Sports Network. We love sports.
It is Tuesday, April 8th, right here on your daily fix for all things Texas Longhorns, brought to you by Rogue Sports Network. I'm Tanner Carlson. That is Jake Jimerson, and this is All in Horns. Basketball season is all but done, and so now we are going to be essentially flipping all of our attention to the baseball and softball world. But before we do that, we do have some final thoughts on the women's basketball season. The Lady Longhorns made it to the Final Four, losing to South Carolina in just about as dominant of a fashion as you possibly can at that point in the season. And yeah, it was a disappointing end, a disappointing final game. It was an exciting Elite Eight win to get to the Final Four over TCU. But yeah, unfortunately, Texas just unable to get it done. You lose to South Carolina 3 out of the 4 matchups throughout the season, once in the regular season, once in the SEC tournament, and then one final time in the Final Four. So definitely Don Staley having our number, at least for now. But the outlook and the future of Texas basketball on the women's side, still very, very bright. Very good season. You do finish number 4 in the final polls, which, I mean, you get to the Final Four, but you're the lowest ranked team out of those 4 teams. I mean, I would be hard pressed to argue that point, but I'm perfectly fine with being the number 4 team to finish the season.
Yeah, no other way to say the season but a success. It had been like 15 years, something like that, since the women had made a Final Four.
Yeah, what was it? It was like 2012.
It was a long time.
Yeah.
It had been a long time since the women had made the Final Four.
It may have been like 2008. It may have been even further.
Yeah, it'd been around 20 years, close to at least, since they made a Final Four. So the year is a success, but the only thing I would say is that regular season SEC title and the one win over South Carolina, that may feel a little bit more shallow, just because I think South Carolina proved to be a class above, without a doubt. I mean, they dominated 3 out of 4 games. The only game they lost was a game on the road to Texas. Still a great win for Texas, but still at worst, the second best team in the SEC. And quite frankly, I kind of said it before the tournament. I didn't think anyone was beating UConn. No one was beating UConn. UConn was a class above.
Yeah, I mean, Paige Buckets, she's going to be the number 1 pick of the WNBA draft. She'll probably be playing in Dallas, which might be kind of fun to go check out my first ever WNBA game, if that's the case. But Jake, with all that being said, Juju Watkins probably coming back, I would imagine. When she comes back and when she's able to play for USC, that remains to be seen. But Paige Buchers is going to be gone. And then you also have, I'm trying to think of a lot of South Carolina's players are leaving, but South Carolina is going to reload. My point being is that Madison Booker is probably going to be one of, if not the top player in the nation going into next season. And so when you have the best player in the country on your roster, and hopefully you see her game improve even more so than it already is, it's going to be time for Texas to be consistently competing for a national championship, not just to make a Final Four, but to truly compete for a national championship.
Yeah, the missing piece right now is an elite scoring guard. We had talked about, and I had said before the tournament, I thought the reason they wouldn't win a national title was because of the lack of just kind of elite scoring that wasn't just revolved around the paint. And that did end up being, a big downfall. Defense can take you a long ways, without a doubt, but you have to have some elite scoring to win a national title.
And that's what's coming up as a freshman in the 2025 recruiting class, number 5 player in the country, committed to Texas, Aliyah Crump from Minnesota, is going to be stepping in, and I'm assuming will fill in that role for Rory Harmon leaving. She'll probably step in. She's 6'1". She's a guard, so maybe a 2 guard. But I mean, if you can have a 6'1" point guard at the women's level, you've got a hell of an advantage.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they need. And so how quickly she can step in and be a difference maker will definitely tell a big story. I do wish they got Chavez, the number one recruit,
She going
who
to
did end
Oklahoma.
up going to Oklahoma. I think OU opened the Brinks trunk for
They spent
her.
all their NIL, their football NIL money on her.
I mean, when you're a school like Oklahoma, you gotta revert your resources to places maybe that'll help more.
Yeah.
But all to say, a great year for Texas women's basketball. I'll be very excited to see how they continue to grow under Vic Schaefer. I love Vic Schaefer as a coach, as a human. I love the way he represents the university, and I do think he'll get Texas to that mountaintop. It's just a matter of when and not if, and sometimes that just it takes a little patience. I feel very similar to him to how I do about Sarkeesian.
Yeah.
It's much more of a win, not if. But sometimes you got to be willing to take some lumps along that journey. If those lumps mean losing in the final 8 teams, losing in the final 4 teams, things could be a lot worse.
Absolutely. Now, speaking of great coaching and very exciting coaching, Texas baseball, Coach Loss has this team playing as one of the top 2 teams in the country. Yes, they are ranked consensus across the board of all ranking systems in college baseball as the number 2 team in the country, following their sweep over Georgia at home in Austin. Georgia was the number 3 team in the country, I believe, number 3, 4-ish range, and
Number 3.
a clean sweep over Georgia. Game 1 on Friday night, last Friday, you win 5-1. You turn it around on Saturday, turning that into a 7-4 win, and then in extra innings, a walk-off home run by Galvan, a 4-3 win over Georgia. And, one thing that people were talking about this Georgia team is how hot their bats are and how Texas wasn't going to be able to hit their pitchers. It really seemed like that narrative going into the series was completely swift, that Georgia couldn't hit Texas's pitchers. And for whatever reason, Georgia could not get these batters off the bases.
The Max Wiener effect continues in Austin. I mean, no, I mean,
Maximum wiener.
but seriously, what he has done at Austin is remarkable. They went from being one of the worst pitching staffs last year, especially once you got away from the starters. And the starters weren't, I mean, just blow away crazy. They were very good. They weren't great, I would say. But the bullpen was atrocious and the closing was atrocious. I mean, just terrible. And then now for this year, the bullpen has had its little hiccups here and there, but what college bullpen doesn't have, non-perfection?
Yeah.
It's been pretty damn close. And I mean, their only bugaboo the last couple weeks has been they can't win these Tuesday games against other Texas schools. They lost UTSA, a good team. Texas State this year, actually really not that good of a Texas State team. They lost that game. They had just lost Max Bailu, originally reported for the year. Now it seems more of he might be back come postseason. It's not a guaranteed out for the year.
Depends how long your run is.
Yeah, we'll see how long he is out. But they were missing him. They were missing Rodriguez this weekend. I mean, missing some key guys, and found a way not only to win the series but to sweep it against the number 3 team in the nation. Right after taking down, well, obviously Missouri in between it, who's terrible, but beating number 2 LSU at home before that.
Well, and Jake, we're kind of seeing this trend on these Tuesday games. It feels like these Tuesday night games are the scariest of the games, and you and I, we talked about that. Sometimes the coaching staff wants to kind of tweak around the lineup. Sometimes you're just resting guys that are a little banged up, and you don't have your full healthy roster. You're switching some things up on the pitching staff, and you're kind of getting some younger guys some more opportunities, and you want your bullpen to be well rested going into your conference series. And so there's so many different aspects. And then you also, on the flip side of that, you've got, your Texas States, your UTSAs, your Houston Christians of the world that are throwing their best guys at you to see, hey, these guys can transfer out. These guys can play with the big boys, whatever that looks like. And so they're kind of throwing everything but the kitchen sink at you. And so, yeah, sometimes those Tuesday night games can trip you up. Tonight is Houston Christian, by the way. So if you can tune into that, I know it may not be the most like buzzworthy thing, but there's no basketball on, and the Masters doesn't start until Thursday. So what else do you have to do on a Tuesday night other than to tune into this Texas baseball team and kind of get your first glimpse of what this team is? If you're just now like, okay, basketball season's over, I can officially switch my brain into baseball mode. That's kind of what I'm doing. There's no better time right now than to get into that baseball mode and turn on some of these games.
Yeah, we've been saying, diving more into baseball, and we have been. I've watched more baseball to this point than I normally would have, but now
I can raise my hand and honestly, hand on Bible, I can say the same thing.
and now it's like, okay, now it's really exciting, with Texas baseball doing as well as combined between baseball and softball, like 7 losses, 8 losses, something like, I think 7 losses. I think softball's lost 3 games, baseball's lost 4, which is, and then it combines, just about like 70 wins or something like that.
Softball has lost 3 games.
And baseball's lost 4. I know
and
that
baseball's
for sure.
Lost. Yeah.
So yeah, very exciting time in Austin. I'm very excited to not only that, just being in the SEC. You're not playing some, in the Big 12. There's a lot of Missouri weeks. And Texas wasn't winning those in last year, to be fair. But this year, you still have Arkansas, who's the new number 1 team coming up. A&M, who just battered Tennessee. Who was number 1 at Tennessee in 2 out of 3 games. Got no hit the other game, but just blew them out of the water in the other 2 games. And if their bats get hot, A&M's a dangerous team because their ERA has been in the top 5 in the country the whole season.
If they're going to catch fire now, do it at this. That you cannot wait much longer to get your bats going. And if they get them going now, they've done it at the perfect time.
Yeah, and you have Kentucky coming up, who's pretty good. You have Texas State again, by the way, coming up here on a Tuesday, April 22nd, at Texas State. And then you got A&M, and then you got Arkansas, and then you got Florida, and then you got Oklahoma. As far as SEC scheduling goes, to close out the season after these Kentucky and Auburn series. So it's a lot of exciting series coming up.
You know who we haven't mentioned? Jared Spencer. Can we shout out the luscious locks of Jared Spencer on the mound? He's somebody. He is your perfect college baseball ace, your pitcher, number 1 guy, who is going to lead a team going in to Omaha, and he is going to take social media by storm. He's going to be the number 1 player that people are going to want to watch, not because of skill wise, but because the luscious locks. The dude throws heat. He's 4-1 on the season now. But yeah, he's been vital to kind of getting these series off to good starts. Started against LSU, got that win. Georgia series obviously got that win. But he's been vital in holding these leads. I mean, he pitched, what was it, 7.5 innings, 7.2 innings in game 1 against Georgia. He only allowed 2 hits, and he had 11 strikeouts. I mean, just hell of a 7-inning series for Jared Spencer.
Yeah, and then so you have Jared Spencer starting things out, being really exciting. Then we have Dylan Volantis, the freshman, who's just been incredible this year. He has a .95 ERA right now. And he's played in a good amount of games. He's pitched in the big games too. He had two outings at Mississippi State. He had 2 outings against LSU, 2 outings against Georgia, only 1 against Missouri. That tells you they're probably resting him against the competition. They don't need him, and trying to keep him fresh for these big games. He's out of Westlake, so he's an Austin guy. He's 6'6". He's a beast out there as far as size, but also one of the funnest pitchers to watch. I don't know if you got to see him much yet, but the movement he gets with the ball and the velocity that he pitches with, and he's just a freshman. He's going to be a Major League Baseball guy as soon as he decides he wants that.
Got
Hopefully
a
that's
hand up. Jared Spencer lost that LSU game. I apologize for
I believe
for
he
the
did
list.
pitch pretty well in that game.
He pitched 5 innings and he was out.
Okay.
So,
That
but
might have
does
been
get rewarded
his
the loss.
worst
Yeah,
performance
but
of the
did
season,
get the
but
loss on the LSU game.
but still, just a lot of exciting pitchers this year, which after last year feels very weird to say.
Yeah.
And a team that I think, regardless of how optimistic you could have been, unless you are just the complete like Longhorn glasses on, we're going undefeated in every sport, every season, winning every national title. Unless you're one of those fans, they have already surpassed, I think, all expectations. I
Absolutely.
never would have thought they were going to be if you count the Ole Miss game, I think 11-1 or 12-1 in
They're
SEC play.
they're
The
11
Ole
and
Miss
1.
doesn't count towards SEC play.
But they're 12
Uh,
and 1 if you do count it.
yeah, and that, I mean, I think he already has more wins than David Pierce had. And David Pierce played more games than that. I know they weren't playing in the SEC, but every time they played an SEC team, they were getting walloped by him.
Mhm.
And now you have Slosh coming in and turning things. And baseball's not basketball. It's not as easy to turn around in 1 year like they have. And they're continuing to recruit elite on the recruiting field. And so the not only the now of Texas baseball is so exciting, but the future is just as, if not more exciting.
If not more exciting. And the thing is, Jake, how important is managing in sports, coaching in sports? Like it's such an underrated quality of a team's success is the coaching staff and the managing of those coaches. And Schlossnagle has just done, and I mean, a Hall of Fame job of building this roster already in year one to the number 2 team in the country, where I think the reason why Texas was ranked middle of the road around 15, 20-ish to start the season off was because nobody knew what this Texas team was going to be. Were they going to completely fall off and not be able to handle the grind of the SEC and not even be ranked by the end of the season? Or were they going to play well enough to be ranked, but not, maybe pushing a top 10 spot? I don't think anybody, not a single person, ever thought this Texas team would be number 2 in the country this deep into the season.
No, if you told me they were going to start SEC play with this record, I would have called you crazy.
Yeah.
Just from the simple fact that the LSU, if you told me they were going to sweep Missouri, I would have believed you. If you told me they were going to sweep Mississippi State, I'd have been like, I think they're going to win 2. If you had told me they were going to beat LSU 2-1 and sweep Georgia, I would have been like, okay, you're drinking the orange Kool-Aid a little bit much there, buddy.
Yeah.
And I would have been wrong. But it goes to show you how big of a difference a coach or a manager can win. And it's not everything. I mean, Texas is very talented, and that's partly because of what Schloss has brought in, and then what they've developed from what they already had from some leftover pieces from Pierce. But despite A&M fans saying that, Schloss-Tango had nothing to do with them going to the national title game, I think they're eating their words a little bit on that this year, regardless of whether they somehow beat Texas in a series this year or not. They're just above 500 right now. I think the results already speak for themselves.
Yeah, that crow, they like it about medium rare in College Station. So Jake, softball, let's go ahead, wrap up the episode real quick. They're 10-2 in conference play, 37-3 overall on the regular season. They just finished up a sweep over Missouri in Columbia, an 8-0 win on Saturday, a 4-3 win on Sunday. They had a double header, back-to-back games, and then they only played 8 innings and won 3-1. The bats aren't necessarily just overly impressive in terms of just scoring for this softball team, but they are getting the job done. They're winning games. I haven't had a chance. I'm not going to lie to the listeners that I haven't really gotten a chance to watch a ton of softball this year. I've tried to tune in. I did not tune into the Missouri series. Obviously, I was on vacation and didn't have any cell reception. I didn't even watch the Final Four. I had to go back and watch those games later. But it the train keeps on rolling. However, Texas, following this Missouri series, we're about to know exactly what this team is in about a month and a half, because of the schedule coming up for these girls.
Yeah, I mean, you have a Texas State game they should win, coming up on Wednesday. Then you get number 9 Tennessee at home. To me, you gotta win that series because it's at home. Then you have number 3 LSU at home. Uh, and then you have a non-conference middle of the week game, at number 15 Oklahoma State. And then you gotta go to Norman, just right down the road from Stillwater, a couple hours, and play number 2 Oklahoma at Oklahoma right after that. So over these next at 10 out of these next 11 games are
Mhm.
against really good competition. 9 of those games being against top 9 teams, 6 of those games being against top 3 teams,
Yeah.
and 10 of the and then already said the 10 out of the 11 against top 15. So we're gonna find out whether this team is national championship contending or not. I mean, so far they certainly look like they could be, but we're gonna find out for sure. You know, if they just get if the series look like they have in the last couple of years against OU, where we kind of knew. I mean, last year they beat OU in the regular season, but you still felt like OU wasn't playing their best then. We're gonna get a really good feel. You know, if they come out and win these 3 series, yeah, I'm gonna be sitting here going, this team can win a national championship.
Sure.
If they lose 2 out of the 3, or uh, lose all of them, or depending how it all goes down.
I would like to see I'd like to see, maybe you can sneak a series from LSU. Maybe you sneak a
That's at
game.
home. I don't think that's sneaky. To me, the sneaking a series would be winning at OU. They're the number 1 team in the nation right now.
Yeah, but
I expect you to
LSU, I
win
mean,
your series at home.
yeah. I mean, you're 100% right, but I think if you can get okay, even if you get in a series where you win the series over LSU 2-1, but dropping a game to Oklahoma State and then getting swept by OU, that's going to feel devastating. So if you can get two wins against LSU, beat an Oklahoma State, and then steal a game in Norman, I think you're feeling pretty good about yourself.
Yeah, I don't expect them to win all 3 of these series. To me, you win the 2 at home. You see what you can do at OU, and you definitely try to avoid getting. I don't think they should get swept in any of these series. Getting
Also,
swept in any of these series would be disappointing.
right, it's our job to look ahead. The team is not looking past Tennessee. I can tell you. Heck, they're not even looking past Texas State or whatever.
No, they can't look past. I mean, they've been really good in SEC play. They also haven't played. I mean, Florida. I think Florida's dropped a lot
Yeah, I don't think
in the
Florida's the team they were
rankings.
last year.
Yeah, I think Florida, being number 3 when they played Texas was a little deceiving.
Yeah.
I'll have to pull up the softball rankings, but I think they've dropped a good amount. But they dropped a game. They did sweep a pretty decent Auburn team. They beat Florida 2-1. But at Mississippi State, they still dropped the first game of that series. And so they haven't just looked like unbeatable despite
Oh
their
god.
incredible record.
I clicked on Florida on the softball website to see if it would bring me straight to the
Yeah, I
softball.
did the same thing.
And I was like, "Oh god, it is straight up national championship stuff." There is nothing that even resembles another sport on their sports page right now other than men's basketball, which, and rightfully so. I would probably do the same thing. So, I was trying to find their softball record and schedule, at least in SEC play, but it went straight to national championship basketball.
Oh, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Florida's number 2 in the nation right now.
Okay, all right, but I was kind of on the same boat as you. I kind of almost
I
felt like
thought
they
they
were.
had dropped out. Yeah, see, but we will get better on the softball stuff. We have both. There's been so many. We have full-time jobs. There's only so many ways. Uh,
We're both in committed relationships. Jake's married. But yeah, I mean, might as well be married over here. I've got 3 kiddos as well. So our life can't 100% revolve around sports 24/7. So, but we're going to jump back into the full swing of things and get really educated on both baseball and softball. for the remainder of the year.
Yeah,
So
Florida number 2 and D1 soft. They're like number 2 and almost all. So yeah, don't listen to anything I just said.
they're really
I'm an
good. And
idiot.
so that sweep of Florida was a great
2-1,
series.
2-1,
2-1 over
So
Florida.
that is their premier wins of the season. I'm
Absolutely.
an idiot. I don't know why I genuinely thought Florida, and I have watched the women play some softball this year. I haven't kept up with what everyone else is doing, other than knowing OU's, doing really good and that. But
let's make it a point of it. At least let's stay up with SEC play at the very
yeah,
least.
yeah, I think now's a good time too. There are a few series in, basketball's ended. Now is the time every year where we're going to be like, okay, we're fully into baseball and
That's on
softball now.
us. That's on us. We'll hand up on that. That's fine. We're got some growing room. All right. Well, that's gonna do it for today's episode. We're gonna jump into Wednesday's episode with a little bit of a different take on All in Horns. It's Masters Week, baby, and we're gonna give you a little breakdown of what me and Jake think of the Masters tournament coming up. It would be awesome. We can't do that right now. Maybe this week we can though. Reach out to somebody within the Texas golf program and see if we can't get somebody who's willing to do a quick little interview for us before the Masters get going, or while
Just
the
like a
Masters
Scotty
get
Scheffler or something.
going. Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth. There's only a lot of Longhorn alumni that are playing in the Masters, and so maybe we can get somebody, maybe not Scotty Scheffler, but maybe the police officer who arrested him. Who knows? But let's go ahead, wrap this episode up. Tomorrow's episode is going to be our Masters preview, and we will talk maybe a little bit of Texas golf while we're at it. But we will see you tomorrow. Again, these episodes release at noon, Monday through Friday is our new schedule. And for Jake Jimerson, I'm Tanner Carlson. Like, share, and subscribe. We appreciate all the support. Let's keep this thing rolling. And as always, ladies and gentlemen, hook 'em.
All in Sports Network. We love sports.